Welcome back, everyone. I'm Angela Black. The show is called At This Moment. We're here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the number one 100% listener-supported radio station on the planet and possibly beyond. And tonight I'm just going to cut right to it, people. I'm going to get right to it. The station has, the world has, John B. Wells at their fingertips right now via me. So welcome back to the show, John, as we were so rudely interrupted by that break.
I don't think it was a very good idea to go to CIA.gov the other day and go to the Kids Zone. There's this little tab you can click on there. It says Kids Zone. And I thought, I wonder what they're teaching the kids. Hey, it's a great career in the CIA, bouncing rocks with drones, stuff like that, all kinds of stuff. You can infiltrate enemy lines. Look.
It's just like a video game.
It was nothing but, it was just like the color wheel on every computer. Skype was messed up. Cell phones were messed up. It was crazy. So I'm not saying that's what happened to you, but maybe. It happens to us quite a bit. The more controversial the guest, the greater the chance it's going to happen. It's weird.
That's true. The last time I had an interruption like that, I was on the show with Alfred Lambermont Weber. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we were talking about the American people, or in general the human population, not dealing with what's really going on because we're distracted, and we are filled with distraction, filled with entertaining ourselves, etc. And I would like to have you elaborate and continue on your thought.
Well, the thing about it is today we spoke with on the program Caravan to Midnight welcomed back Dr. Richard Allen Miller. And Richard Richard's a trip. He really is, because he goes from almost like Ed Wynn, doing that hoo-hoo-hoo laugh, and then he'll get real serious on you, and he'll lay something extraordinarily heavy on you. But and we were all over the place today, we like each other, so when we get together, it's really like just sitting around, and we just talk about everything, and goes this direction and that, and I'll tell him, no, wait. Go back a little bit, and I need to catch up with your brain here. And he'll spell it out, whatever it was. But the bottom line here is that the only way that we can really change this world that we're in is if we change ourselves. Now, that may sound like a bunch of, lotus position, breathing exercise while you do the Om thing. Nothing against yoga people. Some of them are lovely. But it's true. The party's over, and we're going to have to clean up now. And it was a heck of a party, and what goes along with that is that it's also a heck of a mess that we now have to clean up. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to straighten ourselves out and remember who we really are. You are not defined by your job. You're not defined, certainly, by your possessions. You are defined by your Creator to be what and who you are. Yet, you have choice. In the same way that how many criminals have, let's say in the commission of a criminal act, been mortally wounded? And they're crying, and they're sorry. And sometimes the guy who shot him, because he was being shot at by him, holds the criminal's hand, and is with him or her when they check out. And they did do something bad, but at the end of the line, they're sorry about it, real sorry. They embrace the tragedy of their own lives at that moment, because they know everything. I think about your life flashing before you. It does. The effect that you've had during your time on the planet, it all comes rushing back. We've seen this over and over and over again, countless times, from people who are about to pass from this realm into the next. So when you know that you've got that exit date somewhere out there. Again, going to Scripture, your days are numbered like the hairs on your head, and it won't make any difference. When it's your time, you're going. Until it's your time, you are bulletproof, invisible, absent, able to walk through walls or whatever it takes for your timeline to be undisturbed until the official checkout day. And I don't think people are thinking about this enough. We are accountable. Mm-hmm. There may not be a glowing white orb over there. It's like, oh, look, a face with a big white beard on it. Look, it's God. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily going to happen to you. But I say not necessarily, because who knows what people experience on things like DMT. I've never done it, so I have no idea. But And just to let people know, I am aware that there are gateways to altered states of consciousness out there. I lived through it, and I watched the effects on many people. And most of the time, it wasn't good. And these people never changed. I mean, they were not persons of what I would call the character that recognizes the quality or lack of quality in what they are doing. So if we want to save this world and save this country and save ourselves, we need to let go of this thing. I mean, it's not their fault, Angela. It's not. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It just happened. If there's any fault involved, it's because we began to think that we were running things instead of being part of something that's being run, and we're just a component in it. And I think if we'll get back to that, we'll go, wait a minute. I mean, look how all of a sudden, something will just run on and on and on and on. Everybody knows it's wrong. Everybody knows it's crooked, but it seems like almost with a hive-like mentality, everybody kind of snaps to it at the same time and goes, now, wait a minute. I think it's time, and they all just kind of decide as if they've been discussing it for the longest time, but they haven't. But they've all kind of reached the same conclusion at the same time, decided this needs to change like today. And once that decision is made, it is changed, sometimes that day. And it doesn't have to be some crazy draconian thing. It's just, this staff needs to go, or this person needs to be out of our life, or this one over here is an energy vampire and bad news. It's bad for the company. It's bad for the family. It's bad for this or that. We're going to try and help them first, but if they won't be helped, because they've made the decision not to be, then you got to cut them loose. Mm-hmm. Currently, I believe that we have a real problem in the Oval Office. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking because, it's a black guy, No. I don't care about that. What I care about is the agenda. People will tell you their intentions if you just allow yourself to hear them. And he told us, we're only 120 some odd days away from fundamentally transforming America. And I thought, oh my God. I mean, did anybody hear the words that just came out of his mouth? Mm-hmm. He said fundamentally transforming America. That means from the very foundation of it, the whole structure. And everybody's just, yay, oh boy. And then you look into his past and you find out this person has no business being president whatsoever. And look at this character, Kerry. What qualifies this dude to do anything after that whole stupid Swift boat debacle and all this nonsense? I mean, he may be King Ketchup, but forget about it. Mm-hmm. They're handing Iran everything they want. And then, I get these things about, you're always expressing your opinions on Islam and the Islamization of the world and so forth. You never say anything about Israel. It's like, look, I'm aware of the USS Liberty, but I would rather have Israel in control of the sites that, at least according to the reports. So you got some other people out there that shall remain nameless. They're like, is all this destruction of the ancient religious artifacts staged? Is it fake? Is this fake? Is that fake? And I think they're nothing but confusion centers, frankly. Mm-hmm. They beat their chests and go on and on about how patriotic they are, and they're real emotional about that. And yet, the content of their stories goes back and forth, back and forth. 1 minute, for example, I'm going to wander around all over the place. You just pull me back to wherever you want to.
I'm along for the ride. It's great stuff.
Well, like Jade Helm, for example. Yeah, it's martial law. Great. It's coming. They're going to get us. It's going to, and then the next day it's like, well, is this a drill for like a huge, war, the mother of all wars in the Middle East? It's like, well, which is it? 24 hours ago, you were convinced we were all going to the FEMA camps, and today you're wondering if it's a big fling over in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. Just report. That's all you need to do. Do it as accurately as you can and encourage people to, leave it at that. Encourage people. Try to infuse them with some courage. They need some because they don't understand what needs to be changed. And once they find out how far down the road and how messed up it is, then it scares them. Well, it's natural to want to. It's like the old gal said in Clockwork Orange. When we're healthy, we respond to the presence of the hateful with fear and nausea. You're getting healthy, that's all. Remember her?
Yes.
Well, she was like the Nurse Ratched of the mind control place. But that's true. When we're healthy, we respond to the presence of the hateful with fear and sometimes nausea because we're healthy. So it's natural for people. You give them a bad diet. You tell them that, and it really started with Jennings. He came on with Peter Jennings. He came on ABC News one night with this smug look on his face, talking about how cocaine had become the choice of young professionals, like there was something good about it. Mm-hmm. Peter Fonda wrote in his book, it was like the whole screenplay of Easy Rider. It came out in, whenever the movie did, 68 something.
Yeah.
He said, I smoke a joint and 1,000 little men ask, what am I missing? Well, so encourage them to do dope. Pay no attention to the opium wars where the British had the Chinese hooked on poppy product big time until there was a war over it. So you got bad food, you got dope, you got endless distractions, and you have all this radiation flying around all over the place, from Fukushima to the cell phone that's right next to you. Mm-hmm. If you want to find out how much radiation is coming off that cell phone, just put it on an AM channel on a radio and hold your phone over there by it.
Yeah.
And you'll find out. And the radio just goes, starts making all this noise, just instantly goes to static. This stuff is being done to us because we have sent the message as a people that we are all about stuff. We're not about discipline. We're not even really about health. People who are about health are they're almost narcissistic about it.
Yep.
It's like the nation needs to be healthy. We can make everyone healthy. I mean, when I was a kid, you didn't see. I mean, typically there was a fat kid, but it was a thyroid problem or something like that, or he really did just to stuff his face with ice cream continuously, and his parents let him. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy was eating 10 times more ice cream than anybody else. Of course, he's gonna put on weight, but they weren't like now. I mean, I'm a baby boomer guy, and I go to one of these classic rock concerts and take a look at the troops or my contemporaries, and I'm going, wow, half of the people in here look like they've been guarding a toxic waste dump for about 20 years. Mm-hmm. That's because of their diet. Mm-hmm. Diet and stress. So, I mean, they have really painted us into a corner. Is there a global depopulation effort underway? Probably. I mean, that's entirely possible. Because they keep saying that the population is going up, but in fact, the birth rates are going down all over the place. Mm-hmm.
Especially in Japan. Especially in Japan.
Do you know what, Angela? Even in China, the birth rates are going down. It's like, oh, well, that's that one child thing. It's like, well, yeah, but there's 2 billion of them over there. And they all stopped having babies? Well, no, not all of them, but a lot of them have. They don't even have one child. So, and India, it's dropped there. Europe, Western Europe is on the decline big time. Mm-hmm. And then there was a thing on, I guess it was Drudge, that in 50 years, the Muslims will totally outnumber everybody. And that whole Muslim-Islam deal, that needs to be quarantined, in my opinion. Well, but we have freedom of religion. Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Nobody ever entertained ideas of sanctifying, let's say, a Santeria or voodoo or juju, like they do in Southern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, actually, all over the place, but mostly in the South and West, rather East. And I dyslexic the other continent for a minute, but
okay.
But, to just say, oh, no, we'll give you mosque, we'll let you have Sharia law, we'll let you have this, we'll let you have that. I mean, who's doing this? How many Islamics are in our government? Well, I can answer that with just a few words. A lot of them. Mm-hmm. This thing with Hillary Clinton's email, mm-hmm. Those people up there in the security services have been using private email to communicate between those of the Islamic persuasion for a number of years now. The borders are wide open. What kind of sense does it? This doesn't even make sense. But it's like, oh, we're just all a bunch of dumbass Americans. We're high and having a good time, and we celebrate Cinco de Mayo, even though, I think it's independence from Spain. It's like, no, it was a minor battle where the Mexicans defeated a vastly numerically inferior force of French, but what they leave out is on probably the 6th or 7th de Mayo. the French came back and tore them up, and then installed their guy in and all of that. So, but that was a great Mexican victory. So Cinco de Mayo, and all of the dumbass Americans are going to celebrate those, and they don't even know what they're celebrating.
Yeah.
Well, it's just an excuse to party. What?
Well, St. Patrick's Day as well.
How about April 20th?
Yeah.
420. I think we should all get high on 420. Well, you moron idiot. 420 is Adolf Hitler's birthday, okay? So,
yep.
You know, it's George Carlin's deal about we got a big dope problem. There's too many dopes. It's true. Carlin was such a treasure.
Yeah, he really was.
And a bright guy and a thinker. So, look, it's not everybody's fault. We've been led to believe that these things that we've done to ourselves are okay. It's all right. You know, I'm okay, you're okay. All that transactional analysis nonsense from the early 70s and Masters and Johnson and, you know, Dr. Spock and all these idiots, and they got, but their legacy continues in university. And I got to tell you, to me, university is where you go to be taught attitudes, but your actual education is up to you. If you want a university education, go to a college bookstore and buy the book. Read it, because I can't think of any course at university that ever required reading of the entire book. We're going to do 2 through 8, and then we're going to go 18 to 24, and then your test is going to be on chapters 27 through 36.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the rest of the book is concerned, if you're interested, go ahead and read it, but that's what's required for the course. Well, how many people in that class you think read that thing cover to cover? How about none?
Yeah, none.
Except the one that winds up like a Ben Carson. He read the whole book, so he actually knows something. I'm just saying, we've had what we have done. You talk about misspent youth. This nation has spent the last probably 30 years in a state of delayed maturity. We have clung to the adolescence of our youth and continued to misspend our youth, and now we're standing around going, well, how did our country get so screwed up? It's because you got stoned and you missed it.
Now,
that's what happened.
Yeah. Now, speaking of wasting one's time and this late bloom in maturity, etc. Okay, and to jump back to something you were talking about a little while ago regarding these people who understand on their deathbed that they were wrong and that they're regretful and that type of thing. And I kind of look at it like, wow, so how am I? I don't. It's not something for you to answer. But how am I supposed to deal with knowing that person just wasted their entire life and is now real sorry for it? You were also talking about people who, they're inherently choosing. Their free will has led them on an undesirable path, and so they're at their deathbed and like, oops. I just find that to be such a bastardization of what time is and what we have with it, the precious commodity called time. When we're looking at that and we're seeing the oops factor happen on the deathbed, how am I supposed to turn that into a positive, in your opinion? How do you take that and turn it around into something that matters? I guess it starts with one's own life, but I would love for you to comment. And then I've got a ton of questions coming in from the chat as well. So, yeah, what do you think, Tom?
Well, Angela, you're a sharp cookie, and here's the thing. I don't know if anything that I say in response is going to actually answer your question, but first of all, if somebody says never generalize, well, guess what? They just generalize. So there are tricks and traps in language. Mm-hmm. I don't mean to suggest that everybody experiences that, but some people are like, I hated you then, I hated life, and I hate you now, and they die. It's like, okay, perhaps that one is of his father, the devil. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying that many people, when you get right down to it, it's almost like talking with a bunch of real hardcore, whoever, spec ops guys, Hells Angels or whatever. If you get one of them by himself and just talk to him, he's got as much humanity in him as anybody else, unless he's obviously psychotic and enjoys killing people or enjoys killing things, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. By and large, we live in a realm where I think Tom Waits wrote this song called Everything You Can Think of Is True. And I believe, Angela, that everything you can think of and every condition that you can imagine a human being in, get it, is possible and exists. When people say, well, why does God let this happen? Why does God let that happen? I really have a sneaking suspicion that we cause it. You know, when you go to Scripture and it says something, why would somebody write something like, I mean, all these people have made all these millions of dollars teaching us how to manifest things in our lives. There are many testimonies to the effect that I was able to manifest everything from a BMW to a pyramid bedroom or whatever it is that they want, you know. Well, yeah, why would somebody quote Christ as saying, if you believe it, if you do not doubt for a moment that if you say, mountain, get in that I want you in the ocean. If you believe with everything you got that this will happen, something will happen, it'll wind up in there. But that's why we refer to each other as individuals. Some individuals have more powers in other areas than other individuals. So if you say something that sounds flippant like you are special, unique, just like everybody else. Well, we laugh because it's funny, but we also laugh because it's true. Unique means there's not another one like you, and there's not. The common thing that we have is life and existence. So I didn't mean to overly generalize. I'm just saying that, you know, when the karma train rolls up and those brakes squeal and the door opens and it's time for you to get on, that's when you go, gee, you know, I wish I'd been a little bit better of a person. Okay, I was a disaster of a person. You know what I mean? I mean, it just happens all the time. But some people are lost. There is such a thing as evil. I mean, some people hate life, they hate existence, they hate themselves. So going back to Scripture, when it said, love your neighbor as yourself, well, a lot of people take that to mean, well, you're already eaten up with love for yourself, so love your neighbor too. I don't take it that way. It's love your neighbor and love yourself too. As you love yourself, also love your neighbor, your friend, the guy over there, the girl over there, whatever. Love these people. They're just like you. You are all one on this one particular level. And we have to get back to that, because otherwise, look at the world. I mean, people can say, oh, what a bunch of woo-woo, Bravo, Sierra. It's like, really? Take a look at the world and tell me it's Bravo, Sierra. A little bit of love would go a long way. But the water of love is deep in the ground. There ain't no water to be found in certain parts of the world. It's like that deal with having, who was it, Al-Shabaab just whacked out 147 people, most of them Christians, if not all of them. It's like, what's up with that? All these Christians and Jesus and all this, and, you know, that's just horrible. It's just abhorrent. It's like so many people have been killed by people who worship Jesus. Like, really? Well, how many Jesus lovers do you know that got with their buddies with their AKs and got together and went and massacred a bunch of Jewish children at a school since the Nazi days? I don't even think they did that. They sent them off to camps. I don't remember hearing any stories about that. If anybody was going to do something like that, I'm pretty sure it would be the Nazis, but I'm just saying this is almost an everyday occurrence in sub-Saharan Africa. So you've got to spread the love, Angela, one way or another, and sometimes you can demonstrate love best with a sharp smack on the rump of whoever needs it with the tip of your boot. But it doesn't mean you have to annihilate them. You just work with them, make a deal with them, a little. Something. Negotiate, be a human being, don't be a savage. So just first thing, you go to the weapons. That's wrong. So we need a philosophical base before we can do anything else. We have to. Well, it's what Miller said today. He said, you know, if you want to change I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, if you want to change the world, you first got to change yourself.
As cliche as that sounds. As cliche as that sounds, it is so true. Yeah.
It's nauseatingly cliche, but it's also true. Unfortunately, it's true. So
fair enough.
That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Great words of wisdom, and things that I think we all know, and it's always good to reinforce thoughts with other positive people, etc. So, okay, I'm going to. I've got my Skype's blowing up. People want so many questions answered, etc. So, the first one I'm going to ask you, as you're so kind to take these questions, is I'm supposed to ask you about Cobra and the C2C days, the coast to coast days. So I'm not really familiar with the whole thing. So I was wondering if you'd elaborate on the whole Cobra thing.
That's so funny. I can't believe somebody remembered that. That's
oh,
good.
no,
That's
they're
good.
all talking about it in the chat room.
Well, first of all, let me say that, yes, the last caller that night was Cobra, and I could tell because for some reason, calls that come in from overseas are about, 10 times clearer than a local call from within the United States of America. And I could tell instantly that he was coming over probably an ISDN phone. I used them in Europe before, and I called a guy in New York, and he goes, John, it sounds like you're standing next to me. And I went, well, it says ISDN 1, 2, 3, and 4 down here, so this must be going over ISDN. Well, it was. But Cobra was like, he had to have a voice changer and all this, and I didn't prove this myself, and I understand that over the air there was this voice changer thing going on. But when it went to the actual archived podcast, there wasn't any voice changer on it. And then it's like, you get into this, and like, he must be secret. He cannot be seen. He will not show a picture. He will not do this. He will not do that. It is very secret. But for a small fee, you can see Cobra. You can speak with Cobra. Cobra will shake you by the hand. I just thought, yeah, okay. All right, pal. We'll catch up to you later. Bye. It was just kind of silly.
All right. So, I don't know. A bunch of people were asking about it. It's very funny to me. I'm not very familiar with the Cobra incident. So, wow. And that was the last phone call of exactly when?
Well, he called back as a caller and then identified who he was in Slovenia or Moldova or someplace over there.
I see.
In Eastern Europe, and it was like, I just wish I'd been quick enough because I was thinking it, but I didn't want to put the guy on too bad, seriously, because I'd already kind of gone, okay, see ya. But I could have just said, okay, Cobra, thank you very much, click. That would have been the way to sign that one off, but I didn't want to be mean, so I just let it go.
Gotcha. Okay, next question from the chat room is, what level of discontent are you aware of in the armed forces, and is it enough to result in a coup? And to continue on with the individual's question, would the public pressing for this action have any impact on it happening also, and would this be a good avenue to explore to retake America? So that was pretty profound question from Wingman in the chat room.
Yeah, Wingman. All right. So he is his question, to what degree do I think the United States Armed Forces would support the citizens as opposed to being issued illegal orders wherein they would turn their guns on the public? Is that the question, kind of?
I'm grabbing that. He's wondering what type of level do you think that the discontent is inside of the armed forces, and would that be enough to, and the public, looking at this, would that be enough to look at some type of a coup to retake America? Yeah. And I'm thinking more or less.
I think it's entirely possible.
Go ahead.
There's a small problem there, though. The most competent, it is my understanding, and I do not know because I am not in the military and I have few contacts within the military. Most of the guys that I know are, they're ex-military, they're not current military, and that's just the plain truth of it. But 25% of our armed forces, I'm not talking about necessarily, Navy aviators or any of that. But I mean, the really highly skilled stuff, but a lot of the people on the ground, the grunts, the soldiers, the infantry. I'm talking about riflemen. There's a huge percentage of them, somewhere around 25%, and they're immigrants, okay? Just like Nashville, Tennessee has now determined that, at least they floated it out, that if you got a green card, you might be a candidate for being on the Nashville Police Force. I'm not sure that's a good idea, but anyway. Are there enough?
Disgruntled.
The answer to that question is, there are a lot of Nazi officers, a lot of guys wearing black uniforms, with the little lightning bolts. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys in the regular Wehrmacht, regular army, that were arrested and executed because they just weren't Nazi enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, Night of the Long Knives, Hitler whacked out a bunch of people. I think it was around 80 people, and one of them in particular was a high-ranking guy. He goes, "I've always been loyal to Adolf. I don't know why he's doing this, whacking me out, but I understand he's got a job to do. He's on a mission. So okay, go ahead and shoot." And they did. So I have to say that. They're going to need some help. Mm-hmm. I think that there are a lot of guys that there's just no way to know, because in the end, since we can't see the future, this is where phrases like that would be in God's hands if this nation really, if the citizenry went, okay, we're done. We see how it. Well, how are they going to do that, John? Are we all going to go to the stadium together? No, you can feel it when a shift happens in consciousness. You can feel it. It's the same thing that we felt in the 60s. Mm-hmm. It's the same. Although I was pretty much a kid, I pretty much missed the 60s. But anyway, then there were the 70s. And then the 80s. We all had that collective kind of, hey, this is pretty good. Everything's all right. We're okay. Then the 90s came. That kind of little post-party depression started settling in on us. And okay, the 2000. What's going to happen? Something weird's going to happen on 2000. All these people got ready for Y2K, mm-hmm. and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And then in 2001, we had the New York event. So it's impossible to determine if a numerically inferior force could in fact wrest the reins of power out of the hands of a corrupt government. They would definitely need to have, as George Washington had, and freely admitted and testified many times, it was the power of the Great One that enabled. The British Army was if there was one outfit on the face of the earth that you didn't want to mess with, that would be the British Army. The chances of American colonists in these inferior numbers against these crack troops, hardcore, these guys are killers, and they're good shots, and they're well equipped, and they're well regimented, and they know what to do. They know how to fight a war. Well, if it wasn't Providence, then we're just in Disneyland and we're all doing LSD, mm-hmm. okay, and don't know it. That's what is going to be required. There's going to have to be. This war is not the war that my father told me. The thing when I asked him, I said, your father, my grandfather, predicted the war with Japan years before it happened. What do you predict? And he said, the thing about the next one is you won't know who you're fighting. Mm. So we're not fighting this. This is not just guns and knives. This is, you can eat your dinner with your hands. The silverware kind of makes it nice. The china makes it nicer. Mm-hmm. But as Oscar Wilde said, the violin music while you're having dinner is an insult to the violinist as well as the chef. But what I'm getting at is this. We're not fighting on a guns and knives level solely. This is a spiritual thing. It really is.
Absolutely.
Look at every culture. Just get into the history books and see what happened when everybody started freelancing with their morality. That civilization went into chaos, was destroyed, and then the thing repeats. It's from slavery to great spiritual faith, from faith to courage, from courage to freedom, from freedom to complacency, and from complacency to apathy. That's how it is, and it starts over again. Mm-hmm. And when you're apathetic enough, and now the boots are on your necks, and you're watching people you love cease to exist because somebody's shooting them down like they blow their nose and discard a Kleenex and just walk off like, no big deal, next. I need to reload my gun and kill some more children and women and old people and dogs and cats and regular adults and young adults and everything else. When you see this and you go, you're going to have that checkout time moment, or maybe like a road to Damascus moment. But I didn't use that one today, or tonight in our chat. So I'd have to say that thing about you're about to check out, and then you realize all the stuff you've done wrong. Mm-hmm. When you see your civilization crumble before your eyes and your loved ones getting killed, like people witness every day in about, what do you figure, 60-70% of the world? Mm-hmm. Then you're going to know how bad you screwed up and what you should have done and where your head and your heart should have been. And it's going to be too late at that point. Look, I'm not some lily-white guy who's got the answers to everything. I've participated in a lot of this stuff. But look, it's like it says in Scripture. When I was a child, I did and acted like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Well, I can go a little bit deeper. I can say when I was an idiot, I did idiotic things. I spoke and behaved pretty much like an idiot, just a little bit too Randy Cavalier, Mm-hmm. But when I stopped being an idiot, I put away doing idiotic things, and I didn't do them anymore. That's repentance. You go, say, that was wrong. I'm not going to do that anymore. So you're sorry about it, and you don't do it anymore. That's all repentance is. Mm-hmm. We need to repent in this country big time. We have a massive population of black people who are mad, and they should be. How is it that, an emailer to a Caravan of Midnight sent this one to me. He said, don't you find it amusing, or at least interesting, that Social Security's broke, and this fund is broke, and veterans can't get any money, and all this, but the welfare now. We got plenty of welfare money. And why is that? It's because J.P. Morgan Chase gets a cut of just almost every welfare check and food stamp that gets issued or cashed. Mm-hmm. There's big money in poverty. There's no money in having a productive society. People need to read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. One of the guys in there said, look, you're not dealing with a bunch of Boy Scouts here. We want power, and we're going to get it. There's no money in having an orderly, law-abiding society. We need to gin this up. Mm-hmm. And look what they've done. Cops are going around acting like gangbusters back in the 30s and just hosing people down and all of this. Some of them need to be hosed down, and others do not. But what's causing the cops to overreact like this? And then this moron idiot from MSNBC, the one that said that the children belong to all of us, that one, whatever her name is, Melissa somebody. You know, it's like, well, do we now live because we don't have sensible gun laws? Have we created an atmosphere where police officers need to treat everyone they pull over as if they're armed? It's like, no, in the same way that we should listen to people like you express any opinions at all, since we can see clearly what your agenda is and that you're being paid after your brainwashing. Now you're being paid to pursue that agenda for somebody else, by the way.
Right.
So.
Okay. And
if I sound bitter, I am a little bit.
Yeah, so. You know, it's a side effect. What are you going to do? Okay, so regarding people spewing lies in the media, why don't we address the Brian Williams thing? Because I want to state my opinion before I ask yours, which, you know, I find it interesting to watch. You know, I grew up with, you know, Tom Brokaw, you know, serenading the news to me at 6 p.m. or whatever time it was. I think it was 5 p.m. in the Midwest. And, of course, you know, that whole crew, the Dan Rathers, the Peter Jennings, you know, the Tom Brokaws, you know, they were the, you know, direct, I don't want to say descendants, but they were the next generation of, you know, Walter Cronkite and a couple of the greats from back then, the Edward R. Murrow, et cetera. So you look at that crew, and those were human beings with strengths and faults. And then you look at this crew. You've got your Brian Williams. You know, you've got your, I think, Chris Pelly, I think is his name. You got your Katie Courics, and then you've got your fusion of everyone that you know, resembles a person who is supposed to be delivering some type of current event information to the planet. Or the audience, I should say. So then cut to, Brian Williams was a liar, and this type of thing. You know, I remember when I was a fan of mainstream media that, you know, I loved feeling that I was in good hands with my favorite newscaster of the evening. You know, in that case would be Brian Williams. And so, you know, we watch him all of a sudden take the fall, because I'm sorry, it was not one person that lied one day on a newscast, you know, on a broadcast. You know, we go back to, I think it was Dateline NBC had a big scandal when they were moving facts around for ratings. And so we look at this, the Brian Williams thing, and everyone wants to go ahead and hate. And, you know, he says he's been suspended for 6 months, et cetera. And there are arguments that if he had been suspended for or let go for telling the truth, that he would have been fired for life. The interesting thing is, you know, well, in my opinion, I don't think Brian Williams is the problem. I think he is you know, an item, you know, a part of the problem, you know, but he works for NBC, and he has people that work with him, his producers, his cameramen, et cetera. You know, the entire huge, well-oiled machine. You have NBC, who is, you know, obviously, you know, it's got its own agenda, and obviously hand in hand with whatever the government wants them to report. You know, all of these media, you know, news media venues are in bed with the government and do what the government wants them to do. So, what is your opinion of the Brian Williams situation? How do you feel regarding that? What do you think happened, and what do you think is the solution?
Well, it's a responsibility. You know, just like what you said, you know, you get to know these people, you like them, you trust them. I mean, this is almost like, I have to just interject a little of my own personality in here. It's like if you're a heterosexual man And now you find out that some of your most favorite cowboys from the movies are all gay. It's like, wow, really? I know John Wayne was not gay. It's like, no, Duke was not gay. Okay, thank God. I can do without the other ones, Randolph Scott and all the whole stinking lot of them. But anyway. Look, the movies were good, but that's another thing. That's just a psychological weapon that's been used against us. And the same thing, it's the same weapon that was used against you, and it was used against me. Mm-hmm. But I'm cynical. I am John B. the Cynic sometimes. And when I hear somebody do a radio promo, for example, you're talking network news. I'm not going too far afield here, but only the news you need to know. I thought, what? Mm-hmm. I was walking through Whole Foods the other day. I've said this many times. I see this little girl up there, a little skinny girl holding her arms up like she's showing her muscles, and it says, "Grow up strong and harmless." What? That's a red flag for me, and so is that promo liner.
Yeah.
So where Williams is concerned, you're fired. Mm-hmm. See ya. Mm-hmm. You lied. Mm-hmm. You pulled Angela into this. Yeah, she liked you, right? And then it turns out that you're a liar. So guess what? You were a dumbass for lying, and you're a bigger dumbass for getting found out about it. And we don't need any dumbasses playing with anything this valuable. So hit the trail, pal, and let this be a lesson of, well, but give him a chance, forgive him. I didn't say don't forgive him. I said fire him.
Yeah.
Okay? And let this be a lesson to the rest of you. You go out there and pull a Dan Rather and you falsify a bunch of stuff. I don't care how much you don't like George W. Bush. I liked him at first, but I don't now. Now that I find out, I've been full immersed in this stuff now for a few years. I'm going, oh boy, was I wrong about some stuff. But I wasn't that deep into it. The same thing was hitting me that hit you, Angela. The presentation seemed to be okay. How does a guy that comes on like Wyatt Earp right after 9/11 turn into this like, won't be fooled again, like moron talking idiot? He's not a moron or an idiot. I think all of that stuff is completely contrived, frankly. Mm-hmm. Make him look like just a moron. Oh, no, I didn't know nothing, that thing. So, so here's the thing. Dan Rather, bye.
Yeah.
John Kerry, bye. Mm-hmm. Your swift boat thing turned out to be not true. See ya. Mm-hmm. Just get out of here. If nothing else, by putting a person like you in a position of power, it's going to make the rest of us look like morons who can't do any better than you. And we're not going to do that. Well, do you have some nationalistic pride? Absolutely, I do. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, yeah, we built the greatest country in the world. Yeah, it wasn't easy. Yeah, in some cases we didn't ask nicely. Neither did anybody else. Will you hold yourself up to be better than they are? No, just more powerful. So get back on your side of the border and don't come over here again without going through the proper checkpoint. That's how it is down here on planet Earth. You go and look at the Karate Dojo, and you read this thing this guy wrote. I don't remember who it was, but he writes, you kill the microbe when you drink the water. You kill the tree when you get the lumber to build the house. You kill the grain when you grind it into flour. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is. Mm-hmm. You get hungry and there's no vegetation. You take down an animal, you eat that. Yes, there are some harsh realities we must face. But on a philosophical level, the only thing that separates us from the animals is a more complex system of law. But then again, at this moment, it really looks like the animals have got it together a little bit better than we do because they stick to their rules. Do we? Yeah. You can't get anything done in a world without any rules, and these people think they can just break them because, he's a nice guy, so let him go. It's like, no. It's too big of a responsibility to embarrass everybody like that. You're fired. See ya. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, all right. So Obama, your favorite guy on the planet and mine. So he's got a couple of years left. About 18 months, something like that. More like 20 months left, something like that. And so what do we? His removal from office would be ideal, although that would open the office position up to McCain, which would be crazy. But
no, it'd be Biden, wouldn't it?
I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely, Joe Biden. Thank you for the correction. I was back in the election.
No problem. I knew you knew. I just didn't want you to keep going. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was stuck in the election. Or the non-election.
Right. Excellent point.
Thank you. Yeah. So, okay, let's explore. What do you think we should do about Obama? I think it is worth it to get him out before any more damage is done. But is that, are they going to impeach him? I don't think that's going to happen. So, what do we do? And after that, let's explore the election and the faux election process that we now have.
The states can throw him out if they want to. There won't be any impeachment. There'll just be a removal. I'd personally like to see him placed under arrest and removed from the White House and take Biden when Biden can stand in there for 18 months and there's to be nothing come across his desk until that term is over because he's vice president, this guy, and deeply saturated in Obama goo. Then we cannot trust him to act in the country's interests any more than Obama has.
Absolutely not.
And this man has by the strict definition of sedition and treason, I see both. Now, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And listen, I'm not saying listen to you. I'm just saying listen generally. That's just an expression. That's what happens when you're a Missouri-born Texan. Show me turns into look. You know what I mean? There's no paycheck in saying stuff like this. And I can assure you that I have not completely departed my senses because this woman was held for something like 8 days for claiming that Obama followed her on Twitter. Turned out he did follow her on Twitter. He follows several hundred people on Twitter. I hear too much stuff repeated that just happened the other day on Caravan to Midnight to go, wow, now that's a coincidence that's worth noting. I mean, I am pretty sure the people in the services listen to this. I'm sure the people in the services listen to this broadcast right now. So, but there's no paycheck in this for me. People inside the services know there's something wrong. They know they're stuck in a matrix, but they're at risk also. In some ways, they're at greater risk than we are as citizens. So we don't have a bunch of robots out there, but we do have people that kind of need to carry on. But there's a lot of Edward Snowdens out there. Some people say, I don't think Edward Snowden's real. Well, I want to talk about that airplane crash with Germanwings. Now, here's a wild conspiracy theory, and that's really all it is. I'm just kind of connecting the dots here.
Okay.
Okay. Now, first of all, you know that the word came out that when Ed Snowden was looking for some asylum, one of the cabinet ministers, I believe it was, went to Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, and said, hey, why don't we give Eddie Snowden some asylum here? Well, question number one is, how did that leak out and get back to the White House and provoke the following response? Merkel, if you so much as think about giving Edward Snowden any asylum in Germany, we will cut you off from any intel. We will even cut off information, let alone intel, on any potential terrorist activities or any potential terrorist attacks, even confirmed terrorist attacks. We won't tell you anything. Okay? Now, how did that second story, that one right there, how did that get out in public? Well, I'm thinking it must have been somebody on the inside, or it was done deliberately. Then what happens? This guy, Lubitz, flies this airliner into the ground up there in the French Alps. Okay?
Andreas Lubitz,
and as you look at this, people would remember my name. Yeah, in shame, fool. You didn't think it through. But anyway, it turns out, at least there are reports. I wasn't there at the mosque. I don't know this to be true, but the reports are that he was hanging out during a 6 months leave at a mosque in Bremen, the same mosque that Mohammed Atta, who is supposed to be attached to the 9/11 event, was conducting his operation. So you go, All right. Now, if it's not the Saudis who did the 9/11 attacks, because of all these theories that float around the actual nature and cause and instigators of the 9/11 event. Okay. If the Saudis really didn't have anything to do with it because, they're still doing business with us, so they must not have taken this too deep an insult, right? We're still doing business with them, so let me see now. Why would that mosque still be operating? I know, because it's wanted to be operating. We'll see. I wonder if any SSRI drugs are involved. Yep, it looks like there's some SSRI drugs in his bloodstream. Woo, look at this. He's got a bunch of stuff here. Wow, big mountain, right. Okay, flash over to, just keep in mind, let's throw in Charlie Hebdo, where the policeman who was about to file his report on his impressions of that whole event just decided to commit suicide because he was burned out. Just like that prosecutor in Argentina just committed suicide was the first thing. It was like, no, he was shot in the head. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now what happens if, oh yeah, now we're hearing stories of his girlfriend saying, well, he would wake up in the middle of the night screaming, we are crashing, we are crashing. It's like, okay, that's a real cute story to throw out into the public, fine. And then, now today or yesterday it was, he was doctor shopping so he could hide this from the Germans. Like, really? The Germans? Yeah, that's a bunch of dumbasses, right? They know nothing about espionage. They know nothing about surveillance, secret police, investigations, or anything. They're very stupid people. No. They're experts at all that stuff. And somehow this guy just managed to get through all of this. Now, let's go to Rebecca Roth and her opinion, which I think is the best one I've ever heard, really, about what really happened on 9/11, seriously.
Okay.
There's this flight termination service. Well, that plane can be taken over and flown via satellite. I mean, any of the guys and girls that fly those big aircraft will tell you. I mean, even a Hawker or a Falcon jet or, a Dassault Falcon, they'll tell you, listen, we're really systems managers. Because I was talking to a couple of pilots about flying a Beach Bonanza, and they're going, that's some real flying. I go, you're doing some real flying. They go, no, not really, man. This thing will do just about everything. I said, well, don't you get up there and play with it? And so he goes, oh, no. He goes, if you start to stall that aircraft, the stick goes forward automatically, to try and get it flying again. So, in other words, this thing could probably have been taken over. It's an Airbus 320. It's not that hard. Mm-hmm. It's not. So either flight termination service exists or it does not. So, I mean, which is it? Lufthansa? Please, that's a big-time airline. Germanwings is attached to it, kind of like U.S. Air and American Airlines, is my understanding. Mm-hmm. So was this guy activated? Was this payback? Was this crash payback for those stories about Snowden getting out twice?
Very interesting.
Number one, you know what I'm saying? First, the tip-off that Merkel was thinking about it. Then the story is released that the White House said, we'll cut you off from all the intel if you do. And then comes the crash. I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. And it's just a little bit curious. I think it's worth looking at.
Exactly. Now, just to let you know, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and we're just really getting rolling. It's a bummer, but okay. So I think we were going to try to. Sorry to cut you short.
No, not at all. Listen, thanks so much for just letting me go on and on, because I can sure do it.
Oh, yeah, no, my pleasure. And I've talked to some people that say, when the host talks a little too much, that, they'd rather hear the guest. And so I'm glad to let you do your thing here. It's wonderful. Okay, last question, I guess. Let's promote your website real quick and then see if we can roll into just a few minutes on the election situation. CaravanToMidnight.com, and it's a subscriber-based network, and it's a mere $5 a month to get access to all the archives and the broadcast of Caravan to Midnight, the show, every Monday through Friday, and that's at 11 p.m. Eastern, and it translates into 8 p.m. Pacific, of course, 10 p.m. Central, and yeah, so that happens all the time, and there's just no reason not to have such an amazing treasure of information and interviews for $5 a month at Caravan to Midnight. Any last thoughts? I guess I don't know if we've got time for the election commentary.
Well, listen, you've been very gracious and let me have so much of your airtime here, and everybody, check out our YouTube channel. Just put it in your favorite search engine. Just Caravan to Midnight YouTube channel. Will go right to it. I think it's John B. Wells, and then CTM after that. But in any case, you can check out what we do. We posted show number 261. Yeah. Not quite an hour ago, so there's a fresh one there for you, and I'm pretty sure you'll like it. What are you talking about, the 2016 election?
Yeah, the 2016 election and rigged elections in general, but yes, please do, feel free.
Let's see, as long as we're going to arrest the president, I think we need to arrest George Soros, too, for trying to stimulate civil action, just like he did with Steele and Ferguson, which was an ordinary... it's a tragedy anytime some young man gets killed or anybody gets killed, but this guy was clearly out of line. The Justice Department went down there, tried to do something about it. They couldn't find enough evidence to do anything, so it looks like it went just like these things normally go. As far as the election is concerned, I think it was influenced by Soros and the Diebold electronic voting machines and all of that stuff.
Hegel.
And it's really true what Stalin says. I don't care who votes or for whom. All I care about is who counts the votes. And that's... These people have good memories. They understand all these things, and they use it to good effect.
Well,
so,
an excellent.
We'll be doing good if we have an election in 2016.
Yeah, exactly. All right, John, we're at the end of the show. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing if I can get you back one day on the show.
Okay, and you're welcome to come on to Caravan at Midnight sometimes. We'll just have ourselves a good old chat again.
That sounds fine. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone, Revolution Radio. It's been John B. Wells with myself, Angela Black, and we'll see you next week.